Face is dropped on a wall pass Wednesday for Soccer's morning show. Soccer Down Here. John here, you there. And as it always goes on a wall pass Wednesday, anything's on the table to talk about. Anything that we might not have addressed on Monday or Tuesday, bring it in. Anything that you're thinking about this morning, bring it in. Anything that might be happening on Thursday or Friday, bring it in early. That's what we're here for when it comes to SDH, and especially in a wall pass Wednesday. Hour number 2 is going to be the standard amount of silliness with anticipated Dylan Butler with Wednesdays with Dylan. Bart Keeler from the SoccerForUS POD is coming in for his weekly visit at 10:30. I have been summarily warned that he has a rant locked and loaded. Morning, Coco. And the way that we kind of set things up is sometimes there'll be topics. Sometimes a topic will hit me. You have a rant? Okay. Yes, Coco, it is a rant that Bart has had time to prepare for. Okay, so it's not a rant, Will, but it's a chant. Good morning, Alex. How are you? Will's got a rant, but it's more of a chant. More of a song, okay. I'm guessing does it have to do with Hunt City, Will? Let us know. Basically, the way that it's like, all right, so we're going to talk about this, we're going to talk about this, we're going to talk about this. A lot of hour number 1 is probably going to be about broadcasts, and specifically season pass and the NWSL. Okay, you're singing the national. Oh, yes. Well, if we're going to talk about that, we're going to talk about the United States playing in the Continental Classico when Bart comes in at 10:30. But when I was setting things up with Bart about yesterday, there's always a conversation that we always have in our production queue. It's like, okay, I want to talk about this. I want to talk about this. I want to talk about this. There are some things that are ref-based that I always want to get into with our resident referee. And then Bart says, okay, well, I've got a rant. So anytime there's a rant, I want to make sure that there's no build up to it. That's not like the last thing that you hear. So Bart's rant on whatever it's about is going to lead him off. He comes in at 10:30. He's going to rant. So, like I said, I kind of know what it's about, but I don't know the depth of it. So I have a feeling I know where Bart's going to go. And so we'll let Bart get revved up at 10:30 with his rant episode. New episode for the SoccerForUS POD is out, by the way. And yeah, so you've got all of that coming up at 10:30. Dylan Butler anticipated at 10 o'clock. We'll talk about the other action going on in Major League Soccer with the coaches on the hot seat. We'll get into Vanny and Vermes, and is Hernan Losada going to be like the number 1 coach? Does he already, because of his owner, make it to the front of the line? So that's what I'm staring at there with hour number 2. Hour number 1 is a lot of different things. Jarrett's going to join us here in hour number 1, and then he'll be with us for the duration of the show. But this morning, opening kickoff, brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee, kickoffcoffeeco.com, is just something to kind of keep an eye on. And that's the QR code for those of you who are watching on Twitch. And once again, a reminder, when you're talking about to Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com, don't forget to use the code SoccerDownHere15. You get 15% off your purchase, and they in turn take 10% reinvested into the youth game. Very, very cool things from our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. So that's your QR code. Thanks to everybody who has invested in Kickoff Coffee, who has picked up their products. For those of you who are morning folks and like to have that as your day, thanks for doing everything that you guys do with Kickoff Coffee, so they in turn can do other things. So here's and Coco, that might be something that we're staring at when it comes to Klein. Does Klein save his own hide and send Vanny out the door first. So that's what we're staring at. If you go to the Austin FC website, there's a particular individual whose name has been scrubbed from it. And this is probably the first step in the removal of Claudio Reyna from that franchise. There are some folks out there that noticed that Reyna's name had been scrubbed, and they are already jumping to the conclusion that he has left the club, severed all ties, what have you. The club has not made any kind of official announcement, but this is just basically your FYI for the morning. This is your be on the lookout. This is your bolo, as they would say in the 1970s cop shows. Keep an eye, unless Austin FC just wants to kind of have something just kind of drift into the sunset. Claudio Reyna's name has been scrubbed from the website. And when Jarrett comes in, we'll get into this in just as much detail. But when you look at the technical staff for Austin FC, name's no longer there. Removed from the website. He was a technical advisor, positioned alongside Nolan Sheldon, stripped from the website. And this was as of 2 days ago that the name had been scrubbed. So once again, we knew that his duties had kind of been slid over to Josh Wolf and Sean Rubio. But I think we are getting to the end of Claudio Reyna and his time. Right. So I think we're getting closer to official announcement type stuff from Austin. So just keep an eye on what we're looking at with Austin FC. I know a lot of us have been looking at Austin and wondering about Claudio Reyna with everything that we've been talking about with sagas and gnashing of teeth and clutching, your wringing of hands, these kinds of things. Night Bam, that was quick. Lacking sleep, yes. LA is definitely black and gold, sir. Night Bam, thanks for hanging out for the kickoff. So I think we're kind of in the slow fade here when it comes to Claudio Reyna. Just keep an eye on things in Austin, but nothing official's been made yet. He's just been scrubbed from the website. We'll keep an eye on that. So that's your keep your tentacles up in the air when it comes to receivers and information and these kinds of things. So keep an eye on that when it comes to Austin. But yes, Claudio Reyna's name has been removed. Nolan Sheldon is still a technical advisor. Nolan Sheldon and Claudio Reyna were both technical advisors as they were listed on the website heading into the weekend. But as of Monday, Reyna's name has been removed. So we'll keep an eye on that. Like I said, nothing official from the club, but Claudio Reyna has been scrubbed from the website at Austin FC. So just something to keep an eye on going forward. That's your opening kickoff, brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee, kickoffcoffeeco.com. Once again, there's your QR code for those of you watching on Twitch. And thanks to all of you who have partaken in our Kickoff Coffee and our friends at Kickoff Coffee. Don't forget to use the code SoccerDownHere15. You get 15% off of your purchase when it comes to everything going on at Kickoff Coffee. And they, in turn, take 10% reinvested into the youth game. Sorry, I was trying to slide my vitamins in this morning. Right there, Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. They in turn take 10% when you use the code SoccerDownHere15. It helps them out. They take 10% reinvested into the youth game. Very, very cool stuff from our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. Now, this morning, stuff. And yes, Will, they are. Jared, if you follow Jared on Twitter, and you should, Jared_Smith. Will is demanding some Braves talk on a Wall Pass Wednesday. And, hey, it's a Wall Pass Wednesday. When has that ever stopped us? Really, when has the day of the week ever stopped us? Broadcast things. This was what popped into my head this morning. And a couple of different aspects of broadcast came to mind. First off, when it comes to the match coming up in the Premier League that probably will decide the title this year, the upcoming Arsenal-Manchester City match. That's going on Peacock. World Soccer Talk brought that up yesterday. So Manchester City and Arsenal, the game in the midweek that is going to break everything down probably and figure out who's going to go where. The match at the Etihad in a little over a week, or in a week, I believe. That's going to be on Peacock. So NBC is decided that they are going to put that there. And we bring in Jared Smith this morning, so let me backtrack a little bit. Jarrett.
John.
Yes. Mentioned this morning that in opening kickoff, Claudio Reyna's name has been scrubbed from the Austin FC website. Nothing official from the team, but this looks like it might be the beginning of the end of the slow fade that we're seeing in Austin.
Yeah, so we talked about this a bit yesterday in the green room. That I suspect there's legal stuff that has to be done. Workers' rights. You can't. You're not just gonna like yeet him into the sun.
No.
As much as it might be the right move, especially from like a PR perspective.
Right.
You're not just gonna do it because you have to go through everything, and like you said, you have to scrub him. Basically him going full soccer dad doesn't necessarily constitute, firing with cause. So you might have to come, if he's under contract, to a separation. So, as easy as it would have been to say at the moment when that presser came out, and boy, howdy, what a day that was in our lives.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't so easy as, hey, he's not with us anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Him being a soccer dad isn't the reason we can fire him. So
yeah.
It makes sense that it took that it took this long.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you could. Ultimately, you couldn't. Am I wrong in saying you couldn't keep him?
No.
Okay.
No, I don't think you're wrong. But the thing is that you have to manage it and make sure that everything is in line. So everything on your end is Coco being soccer dad isn't cause. It should be. But but it's like you got to button everything up. You can't.
It's got to be a T-shirt, man.
Yeah. Well, Mile High
bumper sticker.
Hudson.
Being a soccer dad isn't a cause for firing.
Yeah, being a soccer dad isn't cause for firing. Hudson, yeah, can you help us out here? So I think
I still use Hudson's avatar. He made me on literally everything, so why not?
Exactly. So I think we're at the beginning of the end of the slow fade in Austin. That was the opening kickoff this morning. Yeah, action. And there's got to be morals clause. You got to think of something that's got to be in there that was violent. You have to have everything buttoned up legally. That's the thing.
Yeah, man. Because hey, Claudio Reyna doesn't need to be okay. We talked about this when it happened. Like, he can't work in U.S. soccer anymore.
No.
At least for, that's the thing. I don't know what everyone would consider an appropriate amount of time to which you cannot employ Claudio Reyna.
Yeah. Ever?
Maybe. Very likely. If there is a time in which Claudio Reyna can work in U.S. soccer, we are not at it right now.
No, we're not.
Yeah, no. you had to not have him under your employ.
Yes,
but not unlike the Vizier thing in New York, and not to compare what they did because they're not comparable things. But this concept of you can't just yeet him into the sun.
Yeah, no, you can't
because there's contracts, and the only thing worse than having a black spot upon the inside of your hand is if you screw up getting rid of it and have to go through litigation with Claudio Reyna.
Yes. Yeah. So you've got to make sure. You've got to make sure.
Claudio Reyna is just an absolute nightmare to deal with in the courtroom too. I bet I was like, they're like, we're going to take as long as it takes because if this goes to court, we're all going to suffer.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So that's what we're staring at right now. But yeah, that was opening kickoff this morning. Early reports from Doug Robertson, the AJC. Jarrett's friend from Greece via Celtic, Yorgos Giacomakis, day to day, aren't we all? We'll keep an eye as the training availability happens.
That's just called taking care of yourself.
Yes.
We're all day to day in life, and that's being real with yourself, especially when you get into your 30s and 40s.
Yep. And no worries. So Dylan has an update. So we'll see if Dylan's got coaches calls, but so we'll keep an eye on Dylan's availability this morning. So we'll find out what's going on with Dylan. Like I said, this is like literally breaking news. Dylan's like, I've got coaches calls, and it's like, okay, and it's like, I mean, if you can
That's
jump,
okay, man. Dylan's a man who wears multiple hats.
yes, and
if
so
he makes time for us, awesome. If he doesn't, he's got other hats to wear that are very important.
yep, no,
Let
so it's
Dylan cook.
yes, let Dylan cook. All right, so the other stuff that I wanted to get into, at least here in hour number one for a while, and by the way, Bart has a rant locked and loaded for the beginning of his segment at 10:30.
Oh yes, it's a good day to be here for the whole damn show.
Yeah, so there's plenty to play with this morning in a bunch of different places. I wanted to get into broadcast plans, and we've gotten a couple of stories that have come out. It appears that according to our friends at World Soccer Talk, Manchester City and Arsenal, the match that is probably going to decide who wins the Premier League title, is going to Peacock. So that came out. That came out yesterday, and then it came out again as a part of their morning newsletter. And I understand it to a certain degree, considering that it's the biggest game of the year. You want to try to drive traffic to it. It's also in the midweek, so you're looking at clearances, and if you want to do other ancillary programming around it that's outside your traditional windows, Peacock gives you that extra space that USA and even if you wanted to go big NBC does not. Not necessarily a surprise. ESPN puts El Clasico on the plus. You got fans in the Premier League who are pretty hot about it. So once again, it's a midweek, and so you're looking at this kind of stuff. Peacock has an impressive audience, according to our friends at World Soccer Talk. Liverpool and Arsenal back in from April had an average minute audience of 872,000, largest streaming audience for a Premier League game in U.S. history. Peacock pulled in, along with Telemundo and NBC, Arsenal's trip to play Manchester United earlier this year. Across all platforms, pulled in 2.3 million viewers. So not necessarily a surprise. Days of Our Lives is already on Peacock, Coco. That was part of the renewal deal. As someone who is a third generation Days of Our Lives watcher and is wondering why Bo's brain is scrambled to be more like his father, Victor Kiriakis, instead of Bo Brady, and why Steve Burton's character Harris is keeping hope from understanding that Bo is back. This is the kind of stuff.
Smoking hell.
Like I said, I'm a third generation Days of Our Lives watcher. So when Coco says Days of Our Lives can't be bumped for EPL, Days of Our Lives already got bumped to Peacock because it was going to get not renewed by NBC. And then NBC got a great idea. It was like, hey, let's put it on Peacock. So literally Days of Our Lives is on Peacock now.
Soap operas are amazing just because it is the most absurd yes and improv skit you've ever seen. Mm-hmm. The writers are just yes anding themselves for legitimately 40 or 50 years. Is Guiding Light still in the air too? Because that thing's been going since Jesus wore sandals.
Guiding Light. I think the only soap operas left on CBS are Young and the Restless and Bold and the Beautiful. Those are the only two that are left on CBS. I think the only one that's left on ABC is General Hospital. So literally you have only 4 soap operas left on the air that we refer to as soap operas. Days of Our Lives, which has moved to Peacock, and it got a 2-year renewal to do it. The 2 on CBS and General Hospital. And General Hospital, airs at 2:00 now in some markets, not the traditional 3:00. That's what you're staring at with them now.
Jesus. What a time to be alive.
Yeah.
I was fascinated by him just because I was always like, as a kid, I was like, how the hell are they shooting this? Like, you can always just turn on. I appreciate the comfort knowing that you can turn on a soap opera and know exactly that it's a soap opera because nothing else is shot like that.
No.
Nothing else is framed and lighting and like the way they're balancing the cameras, like nothing else looks like that.
Oh, yeah. See, and Patch is back, Jason, by the way. Knicks. Patch and Kayla are back. What they realized is, and it took them a while to figure this out, the older demos, well, and the thing is, Knicks, is that they shoot like weeks at a time. I mean, they are weeks ahead of what we're viewing. I mean, what you're seeing now was probably shot months ago. I mean, their production schedules are brutal. I mean, they shoot like 6 or 8 months out of the year, and then they're off. They get extended vacations and things like that. So,
As a son of an oil worker, yeah, I can see that.
and
Dad
so,
always spoke highly of the 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off thing, where you just basically blitzkrieg for a while,
yeah,
and then you have a chance to breathe.
yeah, and so that's what you're staring at when it comes to soap opera shooting. But when Days of Our Lives was on life support a couple of years ago, they realized that you've got to keep the older, more established stars in the bullpen. And the younger actresses and actors that they're trying to bring in to accentuate new characters and new storylines really aren't working all that well. So that's why you're getting a steady dose of Roman and John Black and Marlena and Victor and Maggie and Patch and Kayla and all of those stars from the 80s and 90s. They're the ones that are really the ones that have been cranking and keeping Days of Our Lives, up and running on NBC. So NBC got smart and they kept all the older stars and they keep bringing back Hope and Bo and Hope on limited runs because I think Peter Recca lives in like not New Zealand or something, and so they bring back Bo and Hope occasionally. Oh, Bo and Hope are back, and that draws interest and it keeps folks coming back. General Hospital just keeps right on cranking. Ricky Ricardo, what if Stephen A was on General Hospital, I avoided it for that week. Don't get me
Y'all
wrong.
are right. Telenovelas are better though.
Yeah, they are. I mean, look, when you can get Eric Estrada to come in who speaks no Spanish whatsoever, and you can get him to be a part of a telenovela. I think he was a part of Dos Mujeres Un Camino, and he spoke no Spanish. And the ratings when Eric Estrada became a part of a telenovela went through the blanking roof.
He's Eric Estrada. He's a cultural symbol. It's a weird cultural symbol because it's not a touchstone in the way that other things are. But you just I don't know how the younger generation, younger than I am, deals with Eric Estrada, but millennials on up are like they know who Eric Estrada is.
Mm-hmm.
If for
Because
no other reason, we all watched We Love the '80s on VH1 back in the day. So there's that.
yeah,
I do love
Jeff, robots got Jared again. Yeah, Jared's in a cell change.
fellas.
I mean,
If for no other reason, country.
the robots got Jared. It's like when you think he's back, he's not back.
Yeah.
Now try it. What were you talking?
Oh, am I back? Okay.
Yeah.
The telenovelas have bored a hole into my head. The telenovelas, they bored a hole into my head because my incredibly country grandfather, when he was in home hospice, was decided to just start watching telenovelas with the last months of his life and antagonizing everyone in the family with his incredibly poor attempts at Spanish. But he was so determined. He's like, I kind of always want to learn Spanish. I think I'm going to watch telenovelas and try and teach myself.
Yeah, Will and Coco are wishing to reserve on a Wall Pass Wednesday time for you to discuss your Atlanta Braves. That will happen. Burned, in addition to Burned, is brought up to the floor. One of the other scheduling disasters. Women's Champions League semis Saturday and Sunday morning this week. to where we have to get up at 7:30 in the morning to watch. It should be a weekday at 3 o'clock. Absolutely. You're absolutely correct. But yeah, I mean, it got to a point where I was watching, let's see. Let me see if I can remember my order. Young and the Restless was at 12:30. Then Days of Our Lives was at 1. I would go back and forth in the commercial breaks. Bold and the Beautiful was at 1:30. Then you had All My Children also at 1 o'clock. So that created some issues. 2 o'clock was Another World. 3 o'clock was General Hospital. That 12:30 to 2 for me, that was a stretch. That was really working the remote control. And then, like I said, for me, it was Another World and General Hospital at 2 and at 3. And that was the way it was for me back in the days of black and white television when it came to soap operas. But, yeah, I mean, you had All My Children, Erica Kane, and they tried to revive it a handful of years ago. And I think they're looking to revive All My Children again. So we'll see what happens with that. But, yeah, I mean, yeah, telenovelas, you had Veronica Castro that was a part of all of the heavyweight telenovelas. No, Coco, there's nothing wrong with bringing Days of Our Lives into the show. And first off, it's a Wall Pass Wednesday, so anything is on the table.
Technically, anything's on the table any day with us.
Yeah, but,
we don't adhere to a schedule other than like, hey, Dylan's going to be here at 10. So anything before 10 is pretty much fair game. Greg or Parky being here on Friday, anything from 9 to 9:30 is pretty much fair game.
Mm-hmm.
We will structure, like with Mitch yesterday, we will structure conversations with people about the actual sport. Otherwise,
yeah,
look, Twitch pitch, y'all got this. Y'all have been given the magic arrow upon which you want to point this hellfire conversation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean, yeah. Abby's not wrong. I mean, it is tangents galore, and it is tangents down here, but that's just kind of where we are. Speaking of which, Nix brings up that this is the 34th anniversary to the Life is Life warm-up for Diego Maradona.
Just, it's infuriating to watch as somebody who is only slightly deceptively athletic.
Yeah.
Because that title was thrust upon me as I was like beating everyone in ladder ball one day at Kennesaw State, because the sport management degree is a weird thing. And watching someone so carelessly and flawlessly just juggle and have fun and do things with a soccer ball that like you've only ever dreamt of doing it's wild, man. Like anytime you see any of these guys do this in any sport, I don't know if you've ever seen there was a Players Tribune article a couple of years ago about Kobe Bryant.
Okay.
That I forget who wrote it. It was talking about Kobe was a cyborg, which we all know.
Yes, that is true.
That like Kobe was shooting in pregame and then like announced to everybody like the rim is off. And he's like, that rim's 2 inches off. Or like less than 2 inches. It was so slight, but he's like, that rim is off. It's wrong height. And they came out and like measured and adjusted. He was dead on. Like some of these dudes just operate. Some of these insane pro athletes, like Maradona did, like just operate in a different headspace and have like the ability to do these wild things so casually, the same way you or I would walk down the street.
Mm-hmm.
It's never not impressive.
True. Well, and the Tony Gwynn story that I always stick with, we talk about cyborgs and such. Everyone marveled at how great a hitter Tony Gwynn was. Even Ted Williams, Tony Gwynn idolized Ted Williams, and Ted Williams had mad respect for Tony Gwynn.
Tony Gwynn's the modern GOAT.
And so they wondered what the key was to Tony Gwynn's success, and in addition to everything else. So one day, Tony goes to get his eyes checked, and he comes out of the eye exam with 20/10 eyesight. 20/10.
He's a hawk, basically, or a rabbit.
Yeah, so they were like, no, that can't be right. So they put him back in to get another eye exam, like immediately after the eye exam. We're like, he can't be 2010. Basically, he's seeing things, twice as soon with his eyesight as everybody else. He's catching the rotation of the ball a lot sooner in theory. So he goes back
That's what Greg
in.
Maddux said.
Yeah, and so he goes back in for the repeat eye exam, like immediately after the first one, comes back out. He was 28.
Actually, and Maddux said not only was he could see the spin on the ball, he claimed that and Maddux might be the best pitcher of the last 50, 60 years in professional baseball. Like, not I get guys like I get that, like, there's Pedro and Randy and Roger, but like Maddux was a mental terrorist on the mound.
Mm-hmm.
There are stories about, like, there's an anecdote that Maddux once let Jeff Bagwell hit a meaningless home run off of him in a game where it didn't matter, to set him up, knowing he was going to possibly see him in the postseason. Basically made a quote unquote mistake, let Bagwell hit a bomb because, like, the run didn't matter. It was like a solo home run, like a 5-run game. So he set him up. So next time he faced him in a tight spot, Maddux basically, like, had him already mentally set. Like, Bagwell remembered that, and Maddux just reverse pitched him and got him out.
Yeah.
He was a mental terrorist, but he claimed that Tony Gwynn could out of the hand tell when you were changing speeds, which is impossible. Like, that is how you pitch. Like, it is commanding, but it's commanding your pitches, but it's also changing speeds. He claimed that Tony could tell when you were changing speeds, which is that's a mutant.
Yeah,
you're describing a mutant.
Yes, and Alex, by the way, he says he came out of his LASIK surgery with 2012.
Have you considered baseball? Or if you're Nick Ahmed, have you considered cricket? Because last night Nick Ahmed got a double for the Diamondbacks. I sent this to Bam on the Discord. He got a double on a ball that bounced like 1.5 feet in front of the plate. Somewhere Vladimir Guerrero Sr. is just beaming. Like, he woke up in a cold sweat. So happy.
Yes. That's the fun part about all this. And Byrne, we're getting into schedules. We talked about the original topic. Byrne's like surprised CBS is putting so many of the Champions League matches on big CBS.
Yeah.
I think that this is
I'm happy about it. Expand it out.
I think it's a long game for Paramount Plus to get everyone invested in looking at Golazo Network and CBS Sports Network and Paramount Plus, because we know that Paramount Plus has everything wall to wall. You've brought Golazo Network online, and we've reached out to Poppy Miller, one of the busiest women in show business, to see if we can get her back on the show to talk about everything going on up there at Paramount Plus, because she is like, she's doing Champions League one week, she's doing the 1 to 2 show on Golazo Network. She's all over the place. So
Yes,
we've reached out.
We only talk to people who are, like, doing more things than a normal human being should do.
Yes. And so, we've reached out to Poppy so we can catch up with her about everything going on at Paramount Plus. But I think what it is, kind of like what we were talking about, it's the long game. Everybody's used to seeing Premier League on NBC and CNBC and USA, and then Peacock comes along and everything gets kind of slid over to Peacock. And frankly, on Saturday mornings, I watch Goal Rush now more than anything else.
The thing is, for me, is I am so over the moon with how this has gone for CBS and Paramount, because you go back to 2019 when Bleacher Report had the Champions League and Europa League.
Ooh.
It was awful. It was so bad. You were having to, like, pay a subscription to watch all the games, or you could, like, pay like $3 or $4 per game.
Yeah.
And, like, the quality wasn't good. I could not say enough positive things about the way CBS and Paramount have done everything with Champions League on down. Is it perfect? No, of course not. Nothing's perfect. There are ways they could improve it, and I'm sure they'll consider that, because they've always been tinkering with it, which is what you have to do. And it's modern media, man. You gotta you're constantly tinkering. You're constantly finding ways to improve things.
Yeah.
But I'm over the moon with it. Emilio Seaver's a good shout. Bob Gibson's my favorite pitcher in history, not named Greg Maddux.
Yep.
There are plenty of guys who had better stuff. Maddux was just he's a mental terrorist. The man, I think it was Wade Boggs, like once said, like, yeah, Maddux was in your head.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's like he had a crystal ball in that glove. He saw what you were thinking and just always did the exact opposite. His brain was just it worked different. And I'm always fascinated by guys like him, guys like Gwynn, guys like Maradona,
Mm-hmm.
guys like Cruyff when he was managing. I'm always fascinated when those guys when they start coaching, because are you able to articulate greatness to people, or is it tough? Like maybe like a Michael Jordan type, where it's, hey, just do the thing where you're better than everyone. Okay, how do I do that? I'm not you.
Yeah.
How do you articulate and how do you coach how to be better? Because for some people, yeah, you're born with it. And I'm always fascinated by those guys who are able to get that across to other people.
Yeah. Will, the only thing about the Bleacher Report times were some of the best games that happened during those times.
Honestly, that's the sad part.
Yep. The other thing that I wanted to get into, obviously, we know what the Premier League is doing, and we know what Peacock is doing. We know what Comcast is doing with the product. We know this, and we have the issues with all the streaming services. What I wanted to ask this morning, and there was an article that came out in one of the Philly blogs, and Rich, you might have seen this. One of the Philadelphia blogs was less than happy about season pass. And
after last week, I understand.
So season pass is not getting a lot of fans right now, but I don't know if you saw this in the NWSL, where the North Carolina-Washington match, and this is from our friends at Pro Soccer Wire, early games on Saturday, and this is literally how Pro Soccer Wire phrased it. This is direct quote. What can we even say about the early games on Saturday? It's difficult to comment because league broadcaster Paramount Plus failed to actually broadcast the first 40 minutes of this game and the Orlando Pride's match against Gotham FC. NWSL broadcasting has been fraught from day one. Streams on YouTube, the Go90 app, RIP, lifetime and a hodgepodge of VPN knowledge, and squinting through glitchy 360p quality video. The league has been trying to improve, investing in better camera equipment and getting a supposedly more stable broadcast partner, but this is hardly the only recent stumble in the basic concept of allowing fans to watch games on a screen. It took 40 minutes to get the stream of this match to come through, and even when the stream of the game didn't work, it didn't really. Announcers Mike Watson and Anna Whitty were drowned out by background music that wasn't playing at Wake Med Soccer Park. Summing the whole episode up, a halftime interview with Trinity Rodman had to be abandoned over equipment malfunctions. No one thinks broadcasting a soccer match to a national audience is easy. It takes resources, talented people, and a lot of effort. Technical difficulties are not unheard of in any major pro sport, up to and including the world's wealthiest sports leagues. It's unrealistic to expect 100% perfection every single time, particularly when you don't have NFL-level resources. It's just that with NWSL games, the issues, visual, audio, or both, are far too common. They cannot be viewed as a coincidence or just some bad luck while trying to do a complicated task under pressure. There are stories from this game, big VAR decisions, a debut for 15-year-old Chloe Ricketts, USWNT players delivering under pressure, teams making kit choices based on player comfort. Instead, we're talking about 40 minutes of the Paramount Plus logo rotating around instead of a game being shown at the scheduled time. NWSL said to be in negotiations with CBS and Paramount Plus as their U.S. broadcasting partner. If they're going to continue, the league must secure whatever's needed on the technical side, better equipment, more experienced production staff, and certainly more serious engagement from their broadcast partner to bring streams up to the standard of play on the field. The frequency that stream issues crop up should be intensely embarrassing for all parties and almost certainly hurts the league's bottom line when it comes to pursuing sponsors. Saturday was the worst mess in a while, but there have been so many messes that something has to change.
I can tell you that if you're ever in a control room or on a comms when things like that happen, there's a lot of swearing,
Mm,
um, because it's incredibly stressful. I mean, this is the same thing with any sort of broadcast. Silence, dead air silence is it's magnified
hmm
because when there's supposed to be noise, if you're sitting on a porch at 8:30 in the morning having a cup of coffee and it's quiet outside, silence is fine. And you don't think about how long silence is. When there's supposed to be noise and there's not,
Yeah.
especially in radio,
hmm
a second feels like a minute or longer.
Yep.
I feel like, and we have the same thing with like, I feel like we've had this with some of the broadcasts. I think was one of them was I think at the World Cup or a World Cup qualifier where like the broadcasters just like stopped talking and it was just ambient noise from there's a crowd mic picking it up, but you just it feels like a much longer time when there's nothing happening when there's supposed to be something happening.
Yeah.
It's incredibly stressful and you get people getting yelled at, yelling at each other, yelling at themselves, yelling at the wall, finding a raccoon in the ceiling of RFK to yell at perhaps.
Yes, absolutely. And that's another
Hey,
story.
you know what? Hey man, those raccoons might be feral, but their uptime is outstanding.
hmm hmm
You can't convince me there's not a raccoon as a sysadmin somewhere in RFK running everything.
And at the Oakland Coliseum
Well, that
because
one's a possum.
yeah, so you can't use so you can't use the visitors TV booth at the Oakland Coliseum because possums live in it.
And again, don't be mean to possums. Possums are great. If you see a possum, just let that little dude go on his way. Possum's body temperature makes it nigh impossible for them to get rabies, and they eat ticks. Leave
hmm
that possum alone. Possum ain't bothering anybody.
Yeah. Burns said none of the NWSL games worked on Saturday. I was waiting for the late games, and they didn't work either. Nick's talking about mixes in the Apple MLS matches. They've been hit and miss. And Nick says someone has to be monitoring each of these streams. Clearly, they aren't.
I would think somebody is, and then the problem is sometimes like once it goes down, then it's a scramble to figure out why it went down because the problem is like when it goes down, uh, it's not always like Jack and Airplane, pulling the plug,
Yeah. Oops.
and giggling gleefully. Like it could be a lot of different things, and so it's um, you would almost want to get an incident report after it happens. I'm sure they do them internally,
Oof.
um, but it's stressful because, like I said, I mean, it's the same thing of like a second feels like a minute feels like a day when
Mm-hmm.
it's down. Everybody's stressed, and here's the thing: if you're on sticks or you're shoulder mounted on a camera or you're doing graphics or you're doing 3-play, whatever, you still have to keep functioning
Yes.
because even if you're not taking it to tape, the second it comes back up, because you don't know when it's going to come back up, that's part of the surprise. When it comes back up, you got to be doing your job at full speed,
Mm-hmm.
expecting it to be there.
Yeah.
Because if it goes down and everyone's like, well, bam, guess we can't work. No,
Oh.
you keep working
Uh-huh.
because if it comes back up and you know, and somebody up there on the center camera is pulling out a lucky strike and he's just taking a drag, leaning it back against the wall, that's not good.
No.
It's tough. But yeah, I imagine people are monitoring things, but um, yeah, I don't know what the answer is for all of it.
I mean, legitimately, if I'm Jessica Berman, every Monday morning, I better be getting an incident report. Because if you have, let's see, how many paragraphs was it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8 paragraphs when you're discussing a match, and basically 7 of those paragraphs are talking about the issues that you have from broadcast. If I'm Commissioner Jessica Berman, I want an incident report every Monday morning.
Yeah, you well, and that's the thing. you should be getting an incident report every time it happens.
Yeah.
Um,
Literally, there
even
should
if
be
it's like a hiccup,
yeah.
like, hey,
Good
was that just like
following up.
was that like our satellite got clipped by Mir or something? Like, hey, what was that hiccup? Like, is it just like, oh, that was something minor, but we accounted for it. Okay, well, stuff happens,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, you should be getting an incident report every time you have these things, and then looking to fix them. Like playing whack-a-mole doesn't doesn't get rid of the mole. Shoving a stick of C4 down the mole hole might help. You also might blow up the golf course.
Yeah. Yeah. We saw that in a movie once, and that didn't go well for the golf course. Coco, the local radio mixes have been way better.
Went fine for the gopher.
Yes, except for the dancing part. Local radio mixes have been way better, more consistent than the Apple commentator mixes. Not hard to see which side is being professionally mixed and which side is still learning about mixing. Yeah. And I mean, Coco, when you're looking at when you're looking at mixes for audio, I mean, these are channels that have been together, and they have folks that are geniuses at what they do. See Pope, Miller for Atlanta United's broadcast, a legend in the business. And Miller, I literally will see these conversations, and I'll be in the radio booth with Mike and Jason and Miller, and the folks from TV will come up to the booth to get that cable run or the plug in from Atlanta United Audio into the wall setup that is behind Miller that takes it down to the truck. And this is something that, it is literally bang, 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 plug, go, you've got local audio. That is, when you have folks that have worked together and worked in this business for as long as they have, then you will have these kinds of things. And that's what you're looking at, these symbiotic relationships where basically it's like you meld into this one collective and everything is fine. So when you have audio technicians, geniuses, engineers, whatever term you want to use with them, that are attached to these products, that makes sense that the audio would be setting up really well when it comes to the product. And the TV is still learning when it comes to trucks. And from what I understand, it's different trucks in the same location. They're not using the same trucks. And that comes down to availability with all the other products that are going on. So you have the same audio folks from a radio perspective, but you won't have the same trucks from a video perspective. So the truck has to be relearned all over again every single time just because of availability and things like that. So, when you're talking about audio, it's one thing. When you're talking about the TV presentation on Apple, it is something that they have to plug in over and over again and do it all over again. So it's just a different setup where audio knows what their setup is. Plug, go, fiber downstairs, plug, go. You've got your audio. For TV, it's different because the truck is different each and every time, or at least a preponderance so far with the home dates. It's not the same. It's not the same production truck each time. So that turns into a bit of a learning curve when it comes to the TV element.
My favorite thing about this is Alex clearly has also been scarred by RCAs in his life. You too, huh?
Uh-huh.
We can bond over that, buddy.
Yep. Burned, the NWSL hasn't come out and said what and where the issues were. I heard folks say they thought it was at Vista because it affected all the games at the same time. And that would make sense if it affected everything.
Is Vista underwater right now?
That might very well be.
Isn't it in Fort Lauderdale?
Yeah, it may very well be.
Vista might be underwater. Look, man, there might be a lemon shark running cables.
Yeah, or eating them, kind of like we saw in a movie involving the Sheriff Brody trying to make sure that his coastline was safe.
I thought you were going to go Deep Blue Sea, where Saffron Burrows takes a giant electrical wire and electrocutes a oversized and artificially artificially made smarter mako shark.
Okay.
Wait, have you never seen Deep Blue Sea?
No, I have not. No.
Oh my god, I'm gonna make you watch Deep Blue Sea. um, so like, okay, this is the second day in a row that this. I made my wife irrationally upset last night because I explained to her that the 1997 classic Volcano is a real thing where Tommy Lee Jones, like working for, I think Anne Hesh was in it too, if I'm not mistaken. Um, like working for the city of Los Angeles, a volcano erupts under the tar pits.
Because of course it did.
And at one point, they redirect the lava flow that is going down one of the streets in Los Angeles by putting up concrete barricades to stop it and firing fire hoses at it, because that's stopping lava. Um, yeah, Deep Blue Sea is about like they're trying to stop Alzheimer's, and they're trying to find this drug. By they took these three mako sharks and they made them. Actually, it might have been four at the beginning. They made them incredibly smart. Like they increase their intelligence and size in an underwater facility, and then as with all movies in the 90s, the sharks end up like flooding the facility and hunting all the people down.
Don't make things smarter than you, because you end up paying the price, especially in late 90s movies.
Oh man, like LL Cool J is this incredibly like he's coming like right in the middle of rap career as this fast talking, highly religious but also foul mouthed chef who has a parrot who has very foul mouthed. Saffron Burrows is in charge of the whole thing. There's a lot to unpack about this movie.
Yeah.
Please go watch Deep Blue Sea.
Okay, so Deep Blue Sea.
Don't watch it seriously.
No, of course not.
Go into this with the same loose attitude anyone should go in watching like Pacific Rim or something.
Well, see, in movies like that, I always end up rooting for the natural disaster because the movie is so poorly written. Like I think it was a Day After Tomorrow.
Samuel L. Jackson is in that movie. Samuel L. Jackson gets like second billing. He might get top billing in that movie, to be honest. I think Thomas Jane is in it too. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. So I mean, that's you can't. It's just no. You get movies like The Day After Tomorrow, things like that. You root for Mother Nature. You root for the planet to take over.
I'm rooting for the sharks in Deep Blue Sea because none of these characters are likable.
Yeah.
Even the ones they try and make likable, it's just like quit trying so hard, man.
Yes. And
I'm rooting for the animals every time.
Yes. And apparently Nick says to top it all off, Michael Rappaport.
Yes. I'm not spoiling anything by telling you that his death is one of my favorite in the movies. It's not the favorite. Michael Rappaport is in fact in it. He's really annoying.
And so basically you're saying his character deserved to die, kind of like Paul Reiser in Aliens. Okay. I see how this works. Yeah. All right.
Oh, man.
Yeah. All right. So we're getting close to the top of the hour. So it's time to read a promo. And so once again, you see, this is the thing that gets me. Like I said, every single time, and it's a default in the system, so you have to do it every single time. Background music every single time that you come on for a new broadcast is always in loop, and it's always at 50. Instead of where I had it last time when we did the show yesterday, where I did the same thing that we always do when we get to 10 o'clock. But no, we can't have that.
Do you need me to vamp while you get this set?
No. It's sad.
Okay.
It's just venting. Why it's venting as a prelude to reading the promo. It's just something that always happens, and you're sitting there and you're going, "Come on, man." Yes, Rich, absolutely. The straight to DVD Shark versus whatever movies.
Hey, man, some of those like early 2000s, mid aughts, like Saturday sci-fi movies were absolutely amazing for all of the wrong reasons.
You ain't kidding.
Like Raptor Island was one of them that was just like the CGI looked like a video game released on the Sega Dreamcast.
Oh God! So much for here's your 8-bit villain. And that doesn't quite work. No, it's a bit.
Why is the Raptor clipping?
Yes, exactly. Time to read a promo. We're at 14, so let me know if the music once again is too low. so we'll find out soon enough. It's at 14 today. For odor-free, clean, fresh air, one place you need to go. It's a Lemonize Service. Lemonize Service deodorizes enclosed spaces like houses, apartments, and condos. QR code over my left shoulder for those of you watching on Twitch. Lemonize has created a customized solution that eliminizes all organic odors, including those like pets, cigarettes, and food. Realtors and property managers use a Lemonize service to eliminate bad odors, to help them sell or rent their homes that much faster. It's a turnkey process. Makes it easy to work with said realtors and property managers. Kind of the environment we like that these days, a very green way of going about things without any kind of toxic residue whatsoever. Different than Febreze or our favorite masking agents that we have either under the sink or above us in the cupboard, because when you reach under the sink or above you in the cupboard, you grab that masking agent. There's a reason they call it a masking agent, because when you spray it in the air, all you're doing is masking the odor. You're not attacking the problem all the way down to the molecule, like our friends at Lemonize do with their proven scientific formula. Pricing one of two ways, either by the cubic foot or parts per million, to come up with a price that's affordable for you, offering results in 24 hours or less. If you have any questions, frequently asked or otherwise, go to the website. And this is where I grab my pen, because lemonize.com is the website, but we want you to do something else. After the .com, go /Atlanta, so they know what part of the world that you are reaching out to them from, so they can help you with your problem. Your full homework assignment, ELIMINIZE.com /Atlanta, lemonize.com /Atlanta. The Lemonize Service, proud sponsors of everything SDH. Lemonize Service for odor-free, clean, fresh air. On a Wall Pass Wednesday, where once again, well, it might be a Wall Pass Wednesday, but pretty much every day is a Wall Pass Wednesday when it comes to the loose constrict that is soccer down here.
Apparently, Cocaine Bear's out on Peacock now.
But yeah, it is, because when you go to the default screen, it's the first thing that pops up as part of your viewing choices. I mean, I'm still trying to finish the poker face season, and Natasha Lyonne. That's been so well done, reminiscent of the old Columbo series, the Saturday Night Mystery movie, all the way down to the font. Very, very cool stuff. Nick's, apparently Cocaine Bear was Ray Liotta's last film. There's a legacy. Nick says, what a legacy for Ray Liotta. Your last film was Cocaine Bear.
That's
yeah, that's something.
Everything is somebody's last thing. God, okay. Because my favorite one of these is God, what was his name? In Gladiator, I forget the actor's name.
Derek Jacobi.
The older man who was in charge of the Gladiators, who bought Maximus.
Good question.
Oh God,
Richard Harris.
But he died during production.
Right.
No, Richard Harris. I forget who the actor. I forget. Like the dude died during production, and basically died because he got involved in a drinking contest and drank a bunch of people. Yes.
Okay. Oliver.
He died during production, drank a bunch of people under the table, and his liver came out.
Yeah, that's not good. Because he was one of the three older stars.
He drank himself into oblivion.
And the world was shocked, I'm sure, sadly. Because it was either Derek Jacobi, Richard Harris, or Oliver Reed. And apparently three of them rubbed each other the wrong way entirely the entire time. So,
well, it's also the fact that apparently Richard Harris, a bunch of people didn't get along with Richard Harris, because at one point I think there was talk of Ian McKellen doing the Harry Potter series when Richard Harris died, and they needed a new Dumbledore. And I think it's Ian McKellen who was he and Harris did not like each other, and Harris didn't think McKellen was a very good actor. And McKellen's well, if he didn't think I was very good, then far be it from me to take the job that he was clearly doing so well with. They were all very petty towards each other. Why can't we all just be like Peter O'Toole and just drink our way through through basically all of the Mediterranean up through Central Western Europe and back to England?
Oliver Reed died 3 weeks before principal photography ended because Proximo was considered a key character. A clause in the movie's insurance contract would have allowed the filmmakers to reshoot all of Reed's scenes with another actor at the insurer's expense, about $25 million. However, most of the actors and crew were exhausted from the punishing schedule. Ridley Scott did not want to cut Reed from the movie. Script was rewritten, and a body double and CGI were used to give Reed's character a plausible resolution. So there you go. All right, so as we're getting ready for Bart, I know that several folks in the queue this morning wanted you to have a discussion about Atlanta's baseball team and what is currently going on with them. So as we go to baseball down here, what is going on with Atlanta's baseball team that you wanted to discuss, sir, and Will wanted to discuss, and several others?
Well, John, have you seen the Atlanta area baseball team?
I have seen their occasional success, yes.
They're doing really well for a team with only 8 batters. They keep giving time to Marcell Ozuna. At last check, Marcell Ozuna's like he walked last night. He had a double the night before. Those were like put it this way: his season is going so badly. When he gets on base, all of Braves Twitter lights up like Marcell Ozuna's on base on purpose, either by walk or by hit. Mm-hmm. At last check, his batting average is like 0.65 or 0.70. Or 0.070. Basically, if Marcell Ozuna got pulled over this morning, or more likely after the game tonight,
if
Marcell Ozuna got pulled over and he blew a breathalyzer and the breathalyzer equaled his batting average, they would not arrest him.
Wow.
He is blowing below the legal limit. He's batting below the legal limit for alcohol consumption. That is where you're at with Marcell Ozuna. They keep giving him time. No one knows why. It's sunk cost. Just cut him. The rest of the team is unholy. Ronald Acuna is probably going to go 40-40 unless something weird happens. Resident Atlanta homegrown kid Matt Olson, who was
right
at Oakland. Parkview High School's Matt Olson hit a baseball like 440 feet last night. Like Spencer Strider is very good. Like considering a team that is giving up an out one time through the order every single time, no matter what, they're kind of doing that Dodgers thing where, we have a young core that's locked up long term. Man, people are hurt. What are we going to do? We're just going to find these journeymen and throw them in there. They're going to hit 300. It's fine. It's only solid defense. No big deal. Meanwhile, Jason Hayward is literally falling over himself playing right field for the Dodgers.
Mm-hmm.
If you haven't seen that, please go find it, y'all. There's an error in the first inning last night where Brendan Nimmo hits a line drive to right field. Hayward starts retreating on it, gets under it, and then it just goes off his glove. Oh, no. And then there's this helpless, tragic moment as he falls to the ground, and he's reaching for the ball, and he doesn't get up to go get it. He just reaches out, crawling for it, like it is the hand of a loved one going into a pit of quicksand. Thankfully, Clayton Kershaw struck out the side after that, but yeah, it's a very weird, like Dodgers-esque thing where the Braves are like, we're missing a Rookie of the Year center fielder. When we replaced our shortstop, then we had to replace him again. Like we're missing half the starting rotation, and we've lost 4 times. It's fine.
Apparently, Nix is on behalf of Braves Twitter. He's going, Braves Twitter is like, do the Braves know what the H stands for in DH?
No, I don't think they do.
Not that it necessarily matters at the moment, but
yeah. Well, Spencer Strider also struck out realistically, he struck out like 12 guys last night. Only 9 of them counted because as is the case, because the sport that goes to robot officiating first will be baseball.
Yeah.
If for no other reason, because the fans will deem it so and will storm the gates. Spencer Strider was striking people out all night, but the umpire he was having a good time in San Diego and he didn't want to leave.
Very, very Enrico Palazzo of him behind home plate, I'm guessing.
It was very bad.
Speaking of my childhood, according to Nix, my childhood had me much more worried about quicksand than I needed to be.
Yes. I remember watching the live-action Jungle Book movie from the mid-'90s with Carrie Elwes in it.
Okay.
And at one point, one character dies in quicksand, and it's terrifying. Like, they fall in, and then they slowly get sucked in, and everyone tries to pull them out, and they can't. Like they can't pull them out, and they just slowly sink in and die. And you're like, oh, that's a terrifying way to die. As opposed to like, I'm trying to think. Oh man,
Like a spear,
yeah.
something like that, falling out of a tree, down a cliffside. I always
there's a survival movie with Daniel Radcliffe. I forget the name of it. It came out a couple of years ago. Where he gets, I think it's Daniel Radcliffe, where he gets like washed away in like a jungle, and he has to survive, and he's like trying to drag himself out of quicksand through a vine, and it's like it's not as terrifying as they tell you as a kid.
It's called Jungle, as a matter of fact.
There you go.
From 2017.
It's one of those that's like that ilk, like the Leonardo DiCaprio one, the one he won the award for. I forget the name of it. Revenant. Yeah, it's just torture porn. The Revenant is like, it's torture porn basically. It's who wants to watch Leonardo DiCaprio get his ass kicked for 2 hours and 45 minutes? Because the problem is all that stuff is wrapped around the fact that Tom Hardy's an amazing villain.
Mm-hmm.
The whole thing hinges like you've wrapped, like it's like a bacon wrapped hot dog. The bacon is just how much can we put him through. The hot dog, and in this case, it might as well be an actually good, like a bratwurst or a Polish sausage, is a really cool little revenge story involved in it that they've just buried underneath, like Leonardo DiCaprio consistently making these insane decisions. Like, I got mauled by a grizzly bear. What are you going to do? The grizzly bear is kind of like mauled you and decided you're not worth the trouble and is walking away. And then he shoots the grizzly bear. It comes back for more, and then he kills it, but almost at the expense of his own life. The decision making in this movie is amazing.
For the wrong reason. Will, all of you want to DFA Ozuna, but I'm just waiting for Alex Anthopoulos to turn him into a reliever that has 10 strikeouts in 4 1/3 in the NLCS.
I would like to DFA Ozuna. He can go do that for somebody else. What I'm waiting for, and we've discussed this, what they're going to do is they are going to end up trading Braves legend Jesse Chavez at some point. 39-year-old Jesse Chavez has been pitching in the majors since
1742. Yes.
Yeah, pretty much. He actually was in the starting rotation with Tungsten Armo Doyle for the Akron Groomsmen in 1924.
Yes.
They're going to trade Chavez for some key piece. Chavez is going to have a 7 ERA for whoever the hell they trade him to. They're going to cut him. Atlanta's going to re-sign him, and he's going to have like the highest reliever WAR in the National League in the last month of the season, because Jesse Chavez only does good things for Atlanta.
Mm-hmm. Well, and Coco,
everyone else, he sports like a 7 ERA.
Yeah, Coco's right there with you. Yeah, you pair Ozuna with Jesse Chavez in the trade. The team DFA Chavez comes back to Atlanta for the 7th time.
You say 7th, it would legitimately be the 5th. This is his 4th stint with Atlanta.
Jesse
His first
Chavez.
one was in 20. Yeah, he was first here in like 2010, and he wasn't that good. Then he comes back in 2021, is outstanding. Like out there, like 30 at that point, 37 years old, just slinging two-seamers and sliders against the Dodgers in the NLCS. Ends up going away, coming back, and now he's back again. So like that was his 3rd stint in 21. Signed somewhere else, gets traded back to Atlanta for Sean Newcomb in 22. Then I think leaves, and then this is his 4th stint with the Braves technically. Yeah. Jesse Chavez is never going to leave, and I've got a custom Braves jersey at home, and I might just take it to the damn stadium and have him put Chavez 60 on the back of it.
2010, 3-2 with a 5.89 ERA.
Yeah, he wasn't that good.
Then it was 2021, 3-2 with a 2.14. 22, 3-3 with a 2.72, and this year, 10 appearances, bupkis allowed in 9 innings pitched.
He was hilarious last night. Like, he hit a guy, but then struck out 2 guys. Like, Jesse Chavez is just out there dealing, throwing two-seamers left and right. It's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man.
Yeah, well,
this team is doing that kind of thing, though, where like I said, I mean, they're not even 100% healthy by any stretch of the imagination. Raisel Iglesias, who they got from the Angels, thank you, John.
Uh-huh.
Iglesias hasn't pitched. Trotting AJ Minter's country ass out there. Resident bow hunter AJ Minter
Yep.
has been out there just picking up saves. No big deal. Kirby Yates is out there like actually functioning. Like this is it's a very it's one of those things right now where everything's just clicking for them. So it's a lot of fun for Braves fans.
Will reminds everyone that Jesse Chavez pitched for the Braves in the Brooks Conrad game.
That's redacted for a lot of people, man. that should have been like Eric Henske's crowning moment.
Woo.
Because Eric Henske comes in, and that series will forever stick in my craw because that's the year the Giants win that series. They beat Philly, and then they win the World Series. I believe it's against the Rangers. And it's either the Rangers or the Tigers. I can't remember. But Atlanta, that's also the series that Rick Ankiel hit a ball that still hasn't landed in San Francisco. Like in like the 12th inning, he hits a ball like Barry Bonds would have hit one into the water on the fly. Like he absolutely annihilates it. But they gave the Giants more trouble than anyone in the postseason. The only reason they lose game one is because Buster Posey was out and they called him safe. He steals second base. He was very clearly out. They called him safe. He scores on a single like the next pitch, and the game ends 1-0. Then you have the Brooks Conrad game where Eric Henske hits like a pinch hit 2-run home run in the 8th inning, and then Brooks Conrad, who's the only reason you made the playoffs. Let's be honest. Brooks Conrad was just like this scrappy dirtbag player. Just completely forgets how to play second base. And the only reason he's out there is because Martin Prado's hurt. Omar Infante is hurt or gone at that point. Like that whole like the games in the postseason, like oh yeah, Raisel Iglesias, they got four Chavez.
Uh-huh.
That was the thing, like Angels. And then the Angels cut Jesse Chavez and he re-signed with Atlanta.
Yeah.
This is like the NBA thing where like the Cavs would trade Anderson Varejao and
That's very Cavs. The Anderson Varejao. And if you can spell Varejao,
Anderson Varejao. It might have been Varejao.
Oh yeah. Can you spell Varejao, Jarrett? Varejao, as the robots have gotten Jarrett here while he's transitioning from cell tower to cell tower. Are you with us?
I don't know.
Let's see. There we go. Yeah. So, and I mean, the thing is, Raisel, and you mentioned Raisel, who they got for Chavez before Chavez came back a month later. You've got, and Will says, not that Brooks Conrad game. Infield fly, though, the regular season one against the Reds. But the regular season one against the Reds.
Oh, that's the one where he hit a walk-off grand slam in the 9th inning. God, yeah, because he hit he went oppo for a walk-off grand slam and like hits it off of the Reds left fielder's glove. Like the left fielder actually gets a glove to it. It goes off his glove and over the wall for a walk-off grand slam. Weirdest ending.
Yep. I don't understand why Brooks was playing second and Omar was third because it was inverted for the majority of the regular season.
I think it was also the same like postseason though that at one point Troy Gloss was like there is a game in that series, if it's the same one I'm thinking of, where like they had Troy Gloss on the Braves that year. Noted Angels legend Troy Gloss, who at one point in the summer reverted back to like 2002 Troy Gloss. For like 1 month and a half, you couldn't get him out. He was hitting the ball 400 feet every time, and if it didn't go 400 feet, it's because a wall got in the way. And at one point, he couldn't play third base anymore. He just couldn't. But what ends up happening is, like, at one point in one of those games, like, they had to bring him in as a defensive replacement, and he turns the most terrifying 5-4-3 double play you've ever seen in your life. Like, his runners like first and second, I think it's Posey up. His prime Buster Posey years. And he just turns like a ground ball hit to third, and you're like, gosh, this is gonna be an adventure. And he turns a double play. It's the most. It was one of those where you're like, oh, this might be meant to be. No, it wasn't.
I mean, think about it. Troy Gloss, in his last year in Major League Baseball, in 2010, which is shocking that it was 13 years ago, 1671, and he hit 240. An OPS is 744, because mainly to that point he was slugging and just beating the daylights out of the ball. And
man, he was letting loose. Every swing was YOLO. It was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I approve. Like, when you're at that point in your career, I mean, it's just bangers only.
And I mean, he only played 14 games for St. Louis the year before, and that was why St. Louis was like, yeah, you hit 172 and you played 14 games, you're done. Then he picks up with Atlanta. He plays the one season, and then he was done. So, giving me flashbacks about the early 2000 Troy Gloss, the guy that hit 47 homers, and was a part of the All-Star game that year, and Silver Slugger back-to-back years. Thanks for the reminder of that. So that was nice. Yeah, the only extra base hits we were getting were home runs. Gloss hit a walk-off homer against the Royals. Yeah, so all these different things about your professional baseball team from Atlanta this morning, and with all of the stuff that we're seeing from them, and they're still, just think what happens when you get a ninth guy batting that actually can hit, as we think out loud this morning. Bart Keeler coming on in about 10 minutes. And
the thing is, though, you have that. Like, right now, you're running Kevin Pillar out there because he's a great defender.
In left
field. But, like, you still have A. Rosario.
Mm-hmm.
Travis, also, you have the best catching tandem in baseball. Travis d'Arnaud's concussed.
Mm-hmm.
So he's not playing. So instead, like, Sean Murphy's playing, who has his last 11 hits have all gone for extra bases. It's like set a Braves record, set or tied a Braves record for, like, he doesn't hit singles anymore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Troy Gloss was only 33 when he retired. Yep. Started when he was 21, played 12 straight years, and he retired when he was 33. And
Coco got a ring, though.
Yeah, Coco, any season where Dan Uggla was a Brave was a home run or strikeout season.
Hey, Dan Uggla is responsible for the most absurd thing in the history of sports to me, and that is still.
I thought that was Brett Boone.
No, well, yes, for a full season. Dan Uggla, though, was hitting like 160-something for the Braves.
Uh-huh.
After he had terrorized them with the Marlins.
Yes.
He was hitting like 160-something, 170-something, but then when he went on what ended up being like a 32-game hitting streak, he got his average, like, he went on like a 30-plus game hitting streak, which has only happened a handful of times in the modern era.
Yeah.
Hell, in the history of baseball, it just doesn't happen. And he raised his average to like 220.
Yeah, I mean, think about Dan Uggla's batting averages. That season that he was an all-star, when he hit 220, 94 walks, and he went 1978 and 220 with an OPS of 732. 154 games, and he was an all-star, and he hit 220.
36-game hitting streak. And by the way, the 36-game hitting streak for Uggla ended because Darwin Barney made one of the most amazing catches you'll ever see. He had hit a blooper out behind second. Darwin Barney, like, full stretch, made an amazing grab. And it should have been a 37-game hitting streak. And God only knows how long it would have gone at that point. But, the Brett Boone year, when he was surely jacked out of his mind on steroids.
Yep.
All these guys were. It's fine. It's yeah. And Brett, don't sue, because I don't care. As far as I'm concerned, y'all should be able to juice as much as you want. It makes it more fun. Hell, I stand by this. Put a rule in place. If you get picked for the home run derby, you get to start a cycle.
There you go.
You get to like here's the prescription. Here's a box of needles. Go wild.
So, all right. So before Brett Boone goes to Seattle at the age of 32 in 2001, he's in San Diego, 1974, 251. Then he goes to Seattle in 2001, 37, 141, and he hit 331. Third in the MVP voting, Silver Slugger All-Star game.
Yeah, he was flipping the bat left and right. It was amazing.
2002, 24, 107, 278, Golden Glove. 2000.
By the way, that 01 season is the year that the Mariners won 120 games. So
yeah, and lost in the first round. Tell you something. And also the third season he was in Seattle, 35, 117, 294. So,
John, you should know that I'm begging the hockey gods, by the way, to put the Boston Bruins through that same hell. I'm like, oh, that's cool. You set a points and wins record? It'd be a damn shame if you lost in the first round of the playoffs. I am begging the Boston Bruins to lose in the first round.
I don't know if that's going to happen, though. But, yeah, after Seattle. So then in 2004, 24, 83, 251. And so then 2004, he's 35. 2005, he started the season in Seattle. And he started out 734, 231, traded to Minnesota, played 14 games, hit 170, and he was done at the age of 36. But, yeah, you get to that stretch from 2001 to 2004, specifically the 01 and the 03 years for Brett Boone, and you're sitting there going, You just kind of wonder. Let's see. Bart coming up here in a couple of minutes.
Atlanta went through some really weird second baseman variations in those years because, like, before that, you have Cuvio Veras was playing second base for them. Then Boone.
Wow.
Then we stuck with the stocky, plucky white guy. Cuvio Veras?
Yeah. Wow. That's
Padres legend, Cuvio Veras, buddy. Good leadoff hitter, man. But after that, like, you stuck with the stocky, weird white guy, scrappy archetype. And, like, Marcus Giles was second baseman for a while.
Yeah, he was.
They tried to break him by making him hit leadoff, and it sucked when because Rafael Furcal, like, basically dislocated his shoulder and, like, wrecked his AC joint, sliding into second base one year.
Look at Fuki reference this morning. Rafael Furcal. Fuki.
Led the league in steals and DUIs, I think.
I mean, all those guys. I mean, Walt Weiss playing short. I mean, that's
Walt Weiss is the Braves bench coach now, just so you know.
Exactly.
When Brian Snitker gets ejected, not if, when.
Yes.
Happened the other night on a weird review. Because, like, so they had a play the other night where somebody hit a fly ball down the left field line. It bounced in fair territory, and then, like, bounced around, and they called it foul. Then they go back and review it. They're like, "Oh, that was fair. Okay, we'll just put runners at first and second." And he comes out like, "No. That ball was down in the corner. That's at least a double." And like, "Oh, we can only give him first and second." He gets ejected. Hey, man, when that happens, it's Walt Weiss's show.
I'm sorry. I can't deal with the international softball tiebreaker for extra innings. I just can't. I can't do it. Can't do it.
Oh, the runner at second thing?
Can't do it.
I know.
Don't like it. Don't like it. No, sir. Don't like it. Don't like it one bit. And
it's bad.
No, it's just the pitch clock I hate. And then the
I like the pitch clock right now.
The substitution rules for a position player to come in and pitch. They've got rules for that now too.
Well, they've had rules for that what do you mean? Because there's a rule that, like, you can't do it if the game is within a certain number of runs. That's been in place. That's been a thing.
You can't do it before the eighth inning in certain circumstances. That's dumb. What if I want my position player to play all 9 positions? I mean, it's just it's silly. Bart's coming on in the next couple of minutes, Abby. So yeah, Bart's coming on. Like I said, Bart's got his
If the
rant.
game is out,
And Will, I don't think you're wrong. Robot. See, I think Jarrett was going to say something nice about somebody, and so the robots got after him again. Will, I don't think you're in a minority opinion. I hope someone offers Rob Manfred a lot of money to go elsewhere. Russian Baseball Federation said they'd take him, and Will says that elsewhere is a pyramid scheme and he never sees a cent of it. So maybe something like what, New Skin or Herbalife, something like that. Be a part of the LA Galaxy front office to try something like that. That'd be pretty good. So Coco is hoping that the Russian Baseball Federation takes Rob Manfred, and Will is hoping that anybody takes Rob Manfred at this point. But yeah, Coco, I hate the idea. I hate the idea of this not allowing a shift. I hate the international softball tiebreaker in extra innings. Pitch clock, I mean, I get it. You're trying to – I think the game itself has been sped up by a half an hour in general. So there's a lot of stuff to get into. Okay, it's 10:30. Actually, it's 10:31. So Bart really must have been getting revved up in the bullpen. So, no, Burns right now. Burned. Bart is right now. And so, okay, I've been telling folks, Bart, that you requested time at the beginning of your segment for a rant. And so I said, okay, here's what we're going to do is that instead of building up to the rant, because, I didn't want all of that, the pent-up energy and thought to distract you from the rest of the topics that we were going to be talking about. This is a rant that Bart has had on his mind, and I said, okay, so then you're going to lead off with it, and we're going to go from there. And once again, the disclaimer and the disclosure that this is Bart's rant. I don't know what it's about. I might, but I don't know what it is in its entirety. So Bart's rant starts off Bart's segment here on this Wednesday. So Bart, rant.
Well, first off, good morning, everyone. Good morning, Abby. Good morning, Jarrett. Good morning,
Bart.
I am very annoyed at Major League Soccer. And I think Ricky yesterday was trying to blame CONCACAF for the scheduling. And CONCACAF isn't blameless because they are late to the party, as always, when it comes to actually planning the party. But this Gold Cup schedule has been on the FIFA International Match Calendar. It is a listed tournament date on the FIFA International Match Calendar. Yet MLS decides that it is in their best interest to play through this and not just play through the tournament, right? Not just like, oh, we'll have some games. No, they are playing throughout the entire tournament on every Saturday and, by the way, on a couple of Wednesdays during the tournament. They are conflicting specifically with Gold Cup matches, which is a terrible idea to divide your viewership, because I'll tell you this right now. If you've got a Mexican fan who you maybe want to get to and watch MLS, they ain't watching MLS if El Tri is playing. And that is asininely stupid from Major League Soccer for a couple of reasons. One, it obviously impacts the actual quality of play that you supposedly want to increase, which I don't actually think you're interested in actually substantively increasing the quality of your play. I think you just think you are. It is stupid to play during your Continental Championship. All because you created this little Leagues Cup facade, this little farce of a tournament thing that you have just created because you needed more money and Apple needed more games on in their package. It's stupid. It is bad for the league's quality of play. It will diminish the actual value of regular season matches, which you seem to think matter because, again, Apple TV wants to have these on their station. This is such a bad idea. And I'm obviously very personally upset about it because the United States plays in Charlotte, probably one of the closer locations they're going to play in for the next, whenever, because Mercedes-Benz refuses to actually try to host soccer games involving the U.S. But they're playing this game the night that Atlanta United is also hosting an MLS game. So that's one problem. Then the frickin' semifinal. Yeah, the semifinal is on a Wednesday night. The MLS also decided to schedule midweek matches. What sense does this make, John? This is such a stupid move. And I get that, like, most people are probably going to watch MLS over the Gold Cup. I get this. I get it. Because you're club over country. I totally support that. The problem is you're not getting the best quality players or quality of play in those matches that you're playing during this tournament because FIFA is on the calendar. You got to release them. This is stupid. It does nothing to help grow the league. If anything, it's splitting the audience, which again is not good for your Apple MLS deal that you have somehow figured out a way to make bad before it even really got going. This is my rant. I'm sorry. It's just so idiotic because you had to do this stupid little Leagues Cup that no one actually knows what matters and cares about.
No, but no, when you said you had a rant, that's why I wanted to reserve the time off the top and make sure that because I don't want you to internalize anything. I don't want you to keep anything in. I want you to voice what is on your mind. That's what these Wall Pass Wednesdays are for. I mean,
if you're Atlanta United, thinking about the Gold Cup, all right, you're probably going to lose Etienne for Haiti there in the Gold if they qualify through that preliminaries. You're at least losing him for the prelims. You're probably losing Miles Robinson, who is a vital player. You possibly could be losing Caleb Wiley. I mean, he's hopefully playing tonight. We'll get to that in a minute. Definitely, as Garth said, playing in the U20 World Cup. So, maybe you do Atlanta United a solid, but if he shows out well and he proves to be the only legitimate left back option behind Anthony Robinson, he's probably playing in the Gold Cup this summer. That's 3 players just off the top,
What about, you could possibly, depending on what folks look at, you could have an Andrew Gutman up for consideration. Like I said, you could have consideration.
I would like to say Andrew Gutman deserves a U.S. men's national team shot. I don't think he's getting it. But, Brooks Lennon has in the past. Who knows? Maybe Brooks is called up as a right back. We got plenty of them, but who knows? This is going to be a problem. It really is. And it diminishes the importance of these regular season matches. It takes away from the potential that these teams can play at. Look, the performance in Columbus was terrible. We all understand this, but it was an uphill battle because of losing 7 players. 7. Ricky, I'm just giving out names. The point is we're going to be losing players. We're losing at least 3. That's my guess. Is we're at least 2, probably 3 for the Gold Cup. And we're not going to be the only team in MLS affected by that because a lot of teams in MLS have players from other CONCACAF countries.
So there's a lot of stuff on your mind when it comes to this, and I think that where was it in the timeline? Hang on just a second. Coco. So we don't want early season midweek games to avoid compression, but Apple wants midweek games during an international break.
Right, which again, we're continuing to play through these international breaks. It's absolutely insane. It's stupid. MLS has to have a backbone when it comes to dealing with Apple, right? I understand you don't want to bite the hand that feeds you, but you have to say, no, this doesn't make sense. You have to explain why it will not be a good product to show on their package.
What have you thought? Go ahead, Jared.
Oh, traditionally, this is the thing that I know it really pissed off people in Minnesota, for instance, was before this year. MLS would give teams options of, hey, do you want to play during the international window or do you not want to be scheduled and possibly do compression later? And Minnesota consistently played during the window to piss their fans off because they'd be missing people. Pissed off a number of bloggers up there I know as well. But yeah, it's just it's weird how we went from that now to, as you raise the profile of the league, as you bring in more players, you're going to have more guys missing. And we've talked ad nauseum about, you need to increase the quality of depth in the league. And if that's increased spending, if that's having more resources, you need to have more depth because of what you're putting these guys through in terms of the schedule compression. Yeah, adding the international window adds another element to that need to push depth.
Right, and that's going to be the issue. I mean, look, if Miles Robinson goes to the Gold Cup, which I think is a very likely thing to happen because of where he stands in the center back depth chart, yeah, Atlanta United will probably be okay with Juanjo Parada and
Noah Cobb.
Luis Abram. Okay. Because there won't be other. This is just the Gold Cup window specifically, right? This isn't I think someone was talking about other teams. No, this is the Gold Cup window. Yeah. The other FIFA international window is in June, which we are breaking for because Continental the Nations League is that. But yeah, I mean, look, sure. No, I don't think, John, I don't think we'll be fine with Noah Cobb. Sorry. I'm on the Noah Cobb will be good train, but that train has not left the station yet. It's probably going to be Juanjo and Luis. Like that's fine. You'll probably be just fine with them for a couple of matches, but that does diminish the quality that your team is going to play at. If Caleb Wiley isn't there, then Derek Etienne isn't there specifically, who again will be with Haiti. Like that's a problem. I mean, what if, I don't know where the whole roster is, but I mean, we have Panama, Costa Rica, Honduras, Curacao. Like we have a lot of players in this league that play Jamaica that play for other teams.
Yeah. I mean, Rich could be without Andre Blake as an example.
Right. So it's not good for the players. It's not good for the overall competition of the league. And it just continues to make MLS look like an unserious league.
How long have you been trying to how long have you been thinking about this particular rant of yours? How long have you been thinking this through?
Well, it comes up every single time that we have a Gold Cup because MLS does try to play through it, but they usually take a slight break. And this time they're just not because of Leagues Cup. So that's the problem with this year is that you have done this stupid little Leagues Cup thing. I'm sorry. I'm not on board with the Leagues Cup. I'm sorry. I don't care. I'm not on board with it. I think it is a bigger cash grab than El Cachico that's going on tonight. Like the only purpose is because you were trying to lure a big, which fine. You got the big fish with Apple TV. I get it. I'm a proponent of Apple TV as an idea, but the fact that you're having to bend over backwards, create new competitions, change your playoff structure, all these things, just because Apple is mad that you don't have enough games or whatever, that's on you for not explaining to these things and having a little bit of a spine to stand up to them.
And Rich reminds us that he has no Blake Lowe or Flock in that window for Gold Cup.
Yeah, well, every team
for
but
a Philly
Philadelphia
team that needs if a Philly team that needs everybody right now, because we talked about this last week, but and I get that Philly is balancing, they're balancing CONCACAF Champions League, but I mean, it's been bad for the most part in league. And we talked about this yesterday, that you don't want to build too big of a hole for yourself. You don't want to be in a position where you're having to win every week.
Yeah. And Rich is also asking about a U20. Isn't the U20?
No, the U20 is in May.
Okay.
The U20 is in May. So you have U20s in May.
Mm-hmm.
You have Nations League in June, and then Gold Cup June at the end of June through July. So, I understand there's a scheduling compression. I'm glad that CONCACAF did move the Nations League final to March because hopefully that will remove this conflict in the future. CONCACAF is not blameless here because they also added the stupid Leagues Cup, which is I would rather it just be a Final Four of all of us. Again, Bern, I don't care that Philly gets hit hard because I think Philly deserves all the pain that they get, the pain and suffering they bring on.
I knew that was coming. I knew that was coming.
Putting on the Atlanta fan hat for a second.
There's got to be a time, Rich, when you come to Atlanta, it's for Philadelphia and Atlanta, where we have to have a breaking of the bread with all of us and you coming to Atlanta. So
Rich, it's your coach. That's the problem.
Yeah, we got it.
Coach wants us to check driver's license like Florida wants to check genitalia. I mean, this is the problem here is, you say these things, your coach says these things and doesn't expect the smoke back. He doesn't like it.
Well, and we got into this and I once again, and I don't know if Rich caught this earlier in the week, so I'll do a shorter version. When it comes to Philadelphia, Rich, I respect that you're sticking to your plan. You have a plan, you're sticking to it. That's your style. I get it. I don't like it, but I get that that's what you've done to be successful. Yeah, exactly. Use what works. I completely and totally agree. And you have done that in Philadelphia as a franchise. I don't like the way you do it. I have issues with the physicality of your players. And then all of a sudden, when your players turn from defense to offense, they seem to go down very easily. But I get it. That's part of the DNA that's worked on at camp. And by the way, congratulations on breaking the $55 million, the ground on the $55 million training facility. Very cool. And I'm not the only one here, but frankly, I'm glad that your coach got a yellow card for monkeying with the game again and taking balls away from players. He should have gotten one here in Atlanta when he took the ball away and reached over Caleb Wiley to grab the soccer ball away from him and be all, cute and CONCACAF-y and, hey, look at me and look what I'm doing. But I'm glad Ismail Elfath did what he did and gave your coach a card.
Yeah.
Because you cannot, Bart, have that kind of impact on a game the way that Jim Curtin does. But once again, well, and then if he didn't get the yellow for fiddling with the ball and the throw, and he needed one. But I'm, like I said, I do not like the shenanigans that your coach pulls on the touchline. Like I said, I fully respect what Philadelphia does as a team. I get it. I don't like it. I understand it. Do what you do to make you and you work. That's great. I mean, I get it. I understand it. I don't like your shenanigans. But the fact that finally Jim Curtin, I thought that Jim got the yellow for pulling the ball away from over the top. And once again, just tossing the ball back into play. I thought that was why he got the yellow. But, I mean, Bart, referee time.
Yeah, let's shift to the referee time. We can stop hating on Philly for a second.
Well, but I mean, it's part of a larger picture. I think that when you have athletes and coaches that that once again they go right up to that edge. They find out where that edge is. But I think that makes it even more incumbent upon referees and ARs to be more vigilant when it comes to the enforcement of the rules of the game. And if it means you don't want to do this, but if it means, going blackjack dealer in the 5th minute over a rough foul, then that's something that you've got to do. I mean, how difficult is it for referees? And I don't know if you guys have these conversations about teams that play differently than everybody else. The 4-4-2 diamond, he's the only one that does it. It's like playing the triple option in college football, which apparently you can't do that anymore because of cut blocking. What's it like going up, seeing an animal that is different and trying to navigate that as a part of a larger process? What's that like for refs trying to manage a different situation than others that you face?
Yeah, I think especially at the higher levels, I know for a fact that they do scout these teams, right? They're not just going in blind. There is a level of it's not quite this obviously the same as like a coach scouting a team, but they'll watch. They know referees talk. I mean, that is the benefit of the pro setup, right? Where you do have a collective resource. And I know everyone hates pro, but
But what else? But what else do you have? It's
right. Well, for that, but this is the benefit of having a professional referees organization for that league, is that there are conversations, there's data, there's there's information shared between referees, and just overall directives. Maybe not like, oh, you have to do this, but hey, we saw it with the Red Bulls match, right? Like they play a very different style of game than we do. Mm-hmm. Philadelphia plays a different style of game. You do come into the game with being prepared for, you should anyway, come into the game being prepared with how a team is going to play.
Right.
Even at the grassroots level where I'm at, we understand that certain levels of play, right? So like if I'm refereeing an SCCL match, that is going to be very different than when I'm refereeing my ECNL or ERNL matches, right? Like there are levels. So you are aware that there are different styles of play at those levels. You understand that there are different types of players at those levels. The goal is, as always, is to create a safe and fair environment in which to play the sport. Mm-hmm. And so to talk about what Jim did, that is infringing upon our ability to play a fair soccer game. It's almost infringing upon the ability to play a safe soccer game, because when a coach comes from a sideline and kind of gets involved like that, that's a problem.
Yeah.
It could be a safety problem, but it's definitely this is not allowing us to play a fair game anymore. And fair is a subjective word. It is a loose term as well, but for the most part, we want to let the play of the players decide the match and the outcome. And that includes playing the game in a fair and honest way. And I think that's where you and I get frustrated with teams like Philadelphia, like Red Bulls, a lot of the CONCACAF teams. When we talk about CONCACAFery, yes, it oftentimes goes beyond just playing a soccer game.
Jarrett, what's on your mind during ref time with Bart before we get into the men's national team and the Continental Classico presented by insert sponsor here?
Yeah, I mean, it's even coming into this game, and I would ask you from a refereeing perspective about a game like Chicago coming up, where they're a team that obviously they're not playing that same level of Ishhausery, but they're a team that really kind of flows, but you can break them up. And I think we saw with Philly, like once Philly was able to kind of break up their rhythm in the second half,
yeah,
you kind of knock them off their horse a bit. I mean, how are you looking at it from a referee perspective? If Atlanta, and like we talked about this yesterday, Atlanta's physical with teams. Like I thought that if they had 11 fouls against Toronto, Atlanta will get physical with you, especially if Ibaka's healthy.
Mm-hmm.
How do you build that? How do you build that line from a referee perspective, knowing you got two teams that are probably going to want to play? How do you develop that line of here's where a card is, here's what a foul is, that sort of thing, and communicate it to them when, you might end up in a game where people want to break up the flow.
Yeah, so I think you have to have your line kind of set before you enter the game. And a lot of that is, again, the directive from MLS and Pro of like, these are things that we don't want or we are okay with. But you have to figure out what that line is, as you said. And sometimes it's noticing from the beginning, like, oh my goodness, he did the thing that we're really not supposed to do. It may not be worthy of a card at that point in time, but you're more than empowered by the laws of the game and by most of these leagues to issue grand cautions to the team as a whole, both teams as a whole. Even we've seen referees kind of point to call a foul, have a conversation with the player, but oftentimes those big grand gestures of like the waving the arms and above our head or anything, those are signals to both teams, all the players as a whole, of like, this is not acceptable. we don't need to go beyond this. And then obviously you have your yellow card or red card if it does go beyond that. But, it's taking that opportunity in the middle of the match or at the beginning of the match to make a big deal out of what might not be seen as a serious foul, but as one of those fouls that, as you said, is designed to break up the flow of play. Or if it's, hey, the first foul was fine, but we've had 3 fouls in 15 minutes. What's going on here? Those are things that you have to look for and that you need to be proactive in addressing, because to your point, Philly fouls, for the purpose of stopping play no matter what. But Atlanta United, I think our fouls often come from not wanting to get a lot of our fouls come from that transition between offense and defense, where maybe we lose a ball or we're a little stretched out defensively because we have been attacking. And so the foul is tactical. A lot of fouls are tactical, especially at the professional level. So just recognizing that, making sure that both teams are aware, like there's a line. We've either gotten to that line or we're about to cross it, or we have crossed it. Just being aware.
Speaking of crossing a line, you mentioned that an 11-year-old cussed at your last match.
Oh my goodness. He had listen, now I'm laughing about it, but in the moment it was not good. So actually it was funny. The Caleb Cook, who I do the Soccer for Us pod with a lot, he was coaching the other team, and there was an attack, and his striker was running down, into the box toward the penalty spot. He had another attacker on the wing about to cross the ball in, and the defender just ran over the kid, ran over him from behind, tripped, charged, everything. It was clumsy, but it's a foul, it's a penalty kick. So I call the penalty kick, and explicit warning, by the way, this is your FCC.
There we go. The explicit warning is now up. Okay, go for it.
The kid, and this is a U11 game, who fouls him, stands over him, looks down and says, "Get your pussy ass up."
Wow.
And so he was given a red card immediately.
Wow.
The coach was really upset that I gave the kid a red card because now he's going to have to miss games. I was just like, we can't say that, coach. Those are 2 words we can't say. He didn't just say 1. He did 2. And, the kid apologized at halftime. I was like, I understand, buddy, but you got to, still sit out the rest of the game. And the coach is like, well, am I going to lose him for more? And he said multiple cuss words. It's not like he had a bad foul. He did a thing that an 11-year-old alone shouldn't do. But that's not acceptable. That's not acceptable at Major League Soccer levels. You can't stand over an opponent and say that.
Wow. And then Rich and Coco basically say that it's a taught phrase. That taught. T-A-U-G-H-T. That is taught.
He definitely learned it from somewhere. I don't know if the kid has older siblings that maybe taught him that. It's possible that, he learned it playing too much Minecraft or Fortnite or whatever the kids are playing right now. But yeah, it's that was a. I am laughing about it now because I was like, he used those words very well. But he earned every bit of that red card. His team ended up winning, so that but 9v9 at U11 is really not that hard to respond to a red card. It's fun.
Yeah, and the other thing that's going on is Anthony Hudson, the substitute teacher, gets match number 5 as interim coach. 2 friendlies, 2-1 loss to Serbia, goalless draw with Colombia, 2 Nations League matches, wins over Grenada and El Salvador. Coached twice against Mexico while head coach of New Zealand back in 2014 after coaching Bahrain's national team in U23s. El Tri beat New Zealand 2-1. Gio dos Santos, Marco Fabian, 1-1 tie with the Clinzies USA squad. Monty Patterson, a 72nd minute goal, equalized Julian Green. So once again, the substitute teacher gets another rep.
Yeah, I think Hudson has actually done a pretty good job of, as you said, being the substitute teacher, right? He's he's followed the lesson plan, but understood that hey, I don't really have any real authority to make you do this, but hey, let's try to get through our multiplication tables today, type of thing.
Yes.
Kept it positive, kept it positive, but also kept the goals in place. There obviously that March window, we had goals. The goal was to qualify for the Nations League finals. And, the fact that we won both of those matches was pretty impressive. We haven't done that in a while. We all saw how much we struggled on the road in CONCACAF qualifying. I understand that Grenada is not a tough team, but we looked very good in that game. We struggled against El Salvador, and that's why I was very glad they did not get drawn into our Gold Cup group, because they just seem to be the boogeyman team for us. We haven't lost to them, but they just seem to always play us tough. Hudson's done fine in his role. I don't think he's done anything that shows that he should be a full-time coach, and that just needs to be kind of the framework. But, you got the substitute coach, you got the interim coach in a non-FIFA window cash grab friendly tonight. So this game might be 0-0. It might be 5-5. We will see.
Jared Smith for Bart Keeler. Go for it.
Bart, I have a question for you, and it might take you a minute to answer it. How would you fix the LA Galaxy?
Hire Greg Berhalter.
Oh, man, I don't know if he'd take the job.
No, I would not. Jared, I don't know, because they seem to be in that same boat as Chelsea a little bit, where it's like, you have too many good players to be this bad, and you have coaches who are not idiots. Greg Vanney is not an idiot.
Agreed.
Like,
I
think that's why I'm confused, Yep. Because as much as Frank Lampard is probably not he's not a bad coach. Like, the man knows the game. Greg Vanney is a good coach. I don't understand. And you can blame it on Chicharito not being there, but like, that wasn't the reason they were bad. You got Cáceres getting a red card for touching an official in the like, it's things like that where you go,
bruh,
how do you fix that? Like, what in the water at Dignity Health Sports Park is causing this level of stupid? Like, maybe that's what it is. Maybe you need to test the water. There might be some mercury in there. I don't know.
I mean, it's, and there was a thought earlier in the Twitch pitch that does Klein fire Vanney to try to win the fans back?
I don't think that's going to work the way he thinks it will.
No. I think they're mad at Klein, and Klein's the one who needs to go.
Well, yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, you've got you have a trade embargo, a transfer embargo. You had a big fine. You brought in Douglas Costa. So yeah. I mean, that's
so. So what if you go get 3G? Would you consider giving him a deal similar, not exact to, but in the ballpark of what Vermes has in Kansas City, where you let him make not just coaching decisions, but personnel decisions, and let him build it in the way he wants?
I don't know, because I don't love that setup, but I think Berhalter is a smart enough man and a smart enough coach and understands the league well enough to take that on. But like, that's kind of the problem right now, is Vanney is in that situation as well, right? I don't know if that would be the solution. I do think finding an actual like experienced sporting director like chief soccer officer might be a good idea for them. But yeah, I just don't see the actual personnel as the cause behind these issues. Just something there isn't working. I think, though, Klein is the one that needs to go. I really do.
Well, I mean, Klein says that if they don't make the playoffs, that he's out at the end of the year, and a lot of folks who are fans that
9 teams are going to make the playoffs in the West. It's not a big bar, but he still might not clear it.
And Emilio says, "What's the chance Vanney stays and just Klein gets sacked, and then Vanney doing both?"
I think that's very likely. Honestly, I think that is very likely that Klein gets sacked and Vanney stays, because, again, as was pointed out in the chat, I don't think Vanney is the problem. I really don't.
And I mean, you're looking at Vanney and Vermes too. And
I agree completely. It's to your point. Like you just said, we've seen Vanney we've seen Manny in Toronto do some damn good work. And look, Toronto wasn't like a powerhouse. Toronto was a laughing stock for years.
Mm-hmm. They were.
So we know he's had experience doing this.
Yeah. And it's just what you wonder about the level of patience. I mean, what did you say, Jarrett, that they have just as many, Sporting has just as many red cards as goals scored this year?
Yeah, Sporting has earned 2 red cards and they've scored 2 goals.
Yeah. So, I mean, you're looking at 2 of the Blue Bloods.
So I need Chris Penso to do the game this Sunday and to send somebody off just so we can unbalance that.
Yeah. So, I mean, you've got all that stuff. I mean, there's a lot of stuff right now that's a mess. So Bart, last question for you. Where is your concernometer considering the match that's coming up in a week involving Arsenal and Manchester City that's going to be on Peacock instead of...
I'm not concerned about that match. I'm concerned about the match this weekend because if we win this weekend...
7 points.
Right. We have... Yes, Abby, you can wear pajamas to the bar tonight if you want to come watch the USA-Mexico match. I highly encourage that. We missed 2 golden opportunities.
Yes, you did.
And that part is really frustrating because, granted, you played Liverpool at home. They're a different team at home than they are on the road. We understand this. That's a bad result because you were up 2-0. It's not a bad result getting a point at Liverpool. Coming from behind, letting West Ham come from behind on you is, especially when you had a chance to go up 3-1, is a problem. And this is where the mentality questions are now becoming legitimate, right? You got a chance to reset, rebound, and get 7 points clear on Saturday. Did we play Saturday or Sunday? Saturday.
Yeah, this weekend. How about that?
This weekend, yeah. If you're 7 points clear, and even if it's not 7 points fully, but you maintain the 4 point, just win this weekend, it makes the pressure on the match in the midweek less. That said, you go into that match going, look, a draw at City, it doesn't seal up the title by any stretch, but that really does stunt any momentum that they have to try to catch you. And so that's kind of where we're at is, go get your draw at City and everything else will probably take care of itself.
What is the mug this morning, by the way?
It's, when I'm at work, I'm in the office this morning and it's my mug that says be kind with 2 little B's on it.
Ah, yes.
Yes. Be kind.
Yes. All right. So, Bern, congratulations to Arsenal women selling 42,000 so far for the Wolfsburg match. I hope they make it to the final against Barcelona. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, we've got a tough one against Bayern. Like that's a tough draw, but I think we played both matches against Wolfsburg incredibly well, despite losing some. I mean, we're still out Mead and Miedema, and in the semifinals of the Women's Champions League, we lost. Who did we just lose this week? Little. We lost another player this way. I forget. There's like a million injuries over there at the Arsenal, the Colney training ground. We have played very well. Jonas, his style is starting to translate, kind of permeate throughout the whole team because even our backups are playing well. We just got to score. That was our struggle against Wolfsburg on the road as we kind of. Sorry, it is Wolfsburg. You're right. We beat Bayern. It's Wolfsburg. Anyway, we played 2 really good games in the quarterfinals. We got a chance in the semifinals. The goal is if you score with all the possession, because that's been the hallmark of Arsenal teams for 2 decades, it seems like. All this possession, no scoring, both men's and women's. That's the goal, right? Go get your goals when you are dominating possession. We talk about that with Atlanta United all the time, right? You have to capitalize on the match control.
I'm taking crazy pills. This is a conversation we've literally had every week here in Atlanta.
Yes.
Yeah. It's but Jared, that's like the key to soccer, right? Is when you're in control of the match, you have to capitalize. Yeah, it is Wolfsburg, Bern. Sorry.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And it's also this whole thing of understanding that some teams like to control the match with the ball, some teams like to control the match without the ball, and both are okay.
Yes.
It's okay to have different philosophies.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
There's a piece of European news that Rich Ransom, one of our intrepid Twitter followers, followers of Twitter. There's a difference between Twitter followers and followers on Twitter. He and Ricky are like our de facto producers when it comes to this. Yeah, this kind of stuff. So guess what? Well, I mean, it'd help if I actually had the music back to the level that it's supposed to be.
Soccer is maintaining its handsomeness. That's what's going on, Jerry.
That is exactly what's going on. Olivier Giroud is not coming to Major League Soccer. Olivier Giroud is staying in Europe. So much for Olivier Giroud and Inter Miami.
I have been calling for years for Olivier Giroud to go to Montreal. It now would not be the time.
No.
As Dwayne talked about up in Toronto.
No.
And I don't think he was out of line, and I think he was trying to stress he's not trying to be a hot take artist. That very well might be the worst Canadian MLS team.
Oh my God,
we've ever seen, the one in Montreal right now.
Yes,
but
we have bad Toronto teams that we may be.
We did, about. Man, that Montreal team lost everybody worth a damn, not named Victor Wanyama last year,
true.
And now they have Hernan Losada, who didn't work in DC and is not working in Montreal. But I digress.
Sure, we'll hire him. Yeah.
Any other year, just send put Olivier Giroud in some of those Montreal teams in the city of Montreal, and the man would have been a god.
Yep. Giroud signing an extension with Milan until June of 24, making close to €3.5 million net per season.
So we're not getting him as the backup for Yorgos.
No, he is on, and
this team can't be that handsome. It's not allowed.
We
listen, can't be that ruggishly beautiful.
I'm all for increasing the handsome quotient. I think that's there are lots of ways to win a soccer game. Scoring more goals is one of them.
Yes.
Being handsome is also one.
Yes. Burns says that Women's Champions League final should be two-leg affairs in Europe. Totally agree. I'm for it. Can you imagine a home and away at a sold-out Emirates and a Camp Nou? That would be fantastic.
The only reason I say that, and this is one of those, I kind of agree with Byrne, is I think the women's game isn't quite to the level where selling out a neutral site is or a one-legged affair is the best option. I think giving both teams a chance to host it would do a lot better. Would be a lot better for the overall women's game.
Yeah,
but
completely agree.
I do like that it gets treated like a final.
Yes. Let's see. Amelia was wondering about George Campbell's injury. Picked up an injury in the preseason, according to Sportsnet. No real details on it. So, preseason injury for George Campbell. So that's why he is not getting reps right now in Montreal. And Ricky, who is dropped back in, says, have you seen a caretaker situation to be this strangely bad like Chelsea? It's been bad.
Chelsea's bad.
Hell.
It's been bad. It's been bad, Jerry. Bad. And you have an owner who decides to yell at his team before this match that was played yesterday that they also lost 2-0. It's like, yeah, I'm going to go in and yell at the team. Like I said, it was very George Steinbrenner-y. And so I don't know if that makes Frank Lampard Billy Martin yet, considering he's been hired and fired and hired and fired. But it's been pretty bad. It is. Yeah, no wins in 7. So yeah, it's pretty bad.
I think that happened with that. I think that's happened now with Steve Clifford on the Charlotte Hornets. They fired him and rehired him.
Yes.
I mean, granted, the Hornets are just kind of stuck in mediocrity. So
that's true.
But
maybe Chelsea should hire Nate McMillan and get that bump for half a season.
The fact that Jalen Johnson was not earning minutes with this Hawks team under Nate should have him barred from coaching for at least 2 years.
Yeah. viewing habits tonight. BN and Español have Copa Libertadores at 6, 8, and 10. River Plate is at 8. Barcelona Bolivar is at 10. NWSL Challenge Cup 7:30 and 10. TBS Telemundo has USA Mexico as well as Universo. ESPN Plus has the championship at 3. Has USL League One in the midweek at 7 and 7:30. HBO Max also has USA and Mexico. Champions League is on Paramount Plus. NWSL Challenge Cup 3 matches 7, 7:30 and 10. VIX and VIX Plus have Inter Benfica, Bayern Munich, and Manchester City at 3 o'clock. So very, very busy day for stuff to watch. Bart, we also got into the continued production issues with NWSL. And apparently the first 40 minutes of the Washington match were not seen by anybody. No one.
Yeah. Ugh. I mean, look, that's going to be the issue you're going to run into with streaming, unfortunately, right? That is... It's unavoidable. It truly is. I hate it. It's not excusable, but it's one of those things that's going to happen. It just cannot be that long. It just can't.
Well, and it's a systemic thing, it seems like, with the NWSL. But Jared also made the point that Vista Worldwide might have been underwater with what's going on in Fort Lauderdale. So who knows? But I mean, it's something that sadly seems to be happening more with the NWSL than a lot of other places.
Yeah,
you know?
I mean, yeah. I'm glad they got to Paramount because I think it was a worthwhile move at the time. You just have to put pressure on Paramount to not just pay more, but actually put more into the streaming production. That's where I'm at with that.
What else is on your mind before we go?
I'm playing in the ATL Nations Cup this Saturday for Soccer in the Streets. In my opinion, a very worthwhile organization that does a lot of good in the city. If you want to come to Silverbacks Park and just support the players playing in this or support the organization, we'll be there from about 10 until 3. Pray for all of us to come out with all bones, joints, and muscles intact.
Yes, that would definitely be definitely very, very cool. The new episode for the SoccerForUS POD is out. You can get that on the network. He is at Bartimus Prime 19 and at SoccerForUS on the Twitters. Jared apparently had to dump out and let the real world take over, and I imagine you have to do the same because that's why you're hiding. You're actually in your office this morning.
Yes. Yes, I do soon. So I will say mucha plata, y'all.
Yeah, so Bart's going to say mucha plata, y'all, and we are too. We'll be back at it again 9:05 tomorrow morning with more stuff. We'll talk substitute teachers and things that happen as Abby wears her pajamas to what is a very, very late night in Glendale, Arizona. And Ricky, you are absolutely spot on. Goldberg, AJ Styles, the pride of Gainesville, or Cody Rhodes. I would have thought that after, when Cody wins the championship, I thought that might be something very, very cool to have Cody hammer the golden spike. I think that'd be awesome. But we'll be back at it again 9:05, and we'll be talking Thursday thoughts, whatever's on your mind as we talk about Major League Soccer, get you ready for Atlanta United and Chicago. It's a doubleheader weekend. It is Atlanta United 2 and Chicago Fire 2, and Atlanta United and Chicago Fire. Yorgos Giacomakis was on a bicycle at practice today, as was Brad Gazan, not participating in practice. And it looked like Thiago Almada, according to Doug, was also at practice this morning. So looking forward to that and getting you ready for the weekend. For everybody here at SDH that survived another Wall Pass Wednesday, thanks to all of y'all for being a part. And DDP Yoga might not be a bad one too, Rich. There's a lot of WCW impact that could be made here and WWE impact when it comes to hammering the golden spike. Let us know about July 4th because definitely some breaking of the bread should be happening. For everybody here at SDH, thanks again. Thanks to all y'all on the Twitch pitch. We'll do it again tomorrow morning. Thanks to Bart. Thanks to Jarrett. Thanks to all you guys. As Bart has already said, mucha plata, I will say play it safe. And since it's the end of the show, it means I get to do this. We'll do it again tomorrow morning, 9:05. And take it easy.